Hello and welcome back to the YouTube. This video has been a highly requested video, but it is going to be a little bit more of a serious video as I'm going to be sharing some of my life updates and just touching a little bit on what's been going on over the past couple of years. And I know what you guys are thinking, Carly, you were just now talking about what happened over the last year and a half. Yes, ma'am, I am. You know, although I wish it did have a faster turnaround, healing does have its own timeline in my opinion. And it did take me a lot longer than I expected to muster up the energy and just strength to talk about everything. So without further ado, grab your popcorn and let's get to it. Now, it was pretty interesting as I began to open up more and more with friends about what I went through. I was pretty much taken away by how many other women have been through something similar to this. So I think it's important to start off by saying, you know, I share this in hopes to inspire women who are going through something very similar or have gone through something, you know, similar to this, to inspire them to regain their control, their peace, their strengths, to push past any barriers and come out on top. So here we go. My heart is like beating fast already. All right. Beginning of last year, I ended up walking away from a very, very toxic relationship. And by toxic, I mean pretty toxic. A relationship where he would break up with me, beg for me back. Break up with me, beg for me back. And there was kind of like a cycle about that. There were things mentioned about my choice of clothing and what I wear. Just a lot of disrespect overall. And there were some harsh verbal things that were mentioned about my career and my success. I really just put a chip on my shoulder. And if you've ever been in a toxic relationship, I'm sure you can relate. You know, it's very tough, it's very draining, and it's hard. You continue to fight for this person, you continue to fight for this so-called love, but in the end, you know, is love enough? Anyways, I ended up walking away, packing up my townhouse in Texas, putting all of my stuff into storage and heading back home for a little bit to regroup. And it wasn't even a week since I got back to Florida to where I found out I was pregnant and had a miscarriage 2 days later. Now, I'm not going to go into too much detail because I don't really care to, but I will say this one thing. I am one who is strongly in her faith. Heck, I was raised Catholic. And I remember I was very angry and very upset over the situation. And I was angry at myself, right? My faith was very shaky, but that was probably the most angry I've been to this day. I remember so clearly the night before that second doctor's appointment, you know, an appointment to kind of cover everything. I was so upset, so angry, and, you know, something was just calling me to journal because I usually always journal. And so I began journaling, and I literally was journaling, "Dear Lord, please do not make me make this decision. Please do not make me make a decision that goes against everything I stand for, my morals, my values, my entire upbringing." And I will include some journal prompts that I literally journaled the night before. Anyways, I woke up that next morning. I was very still upset, angry, frustrated, sad. Went to the appointment and had to get my blood drawn because they had to run some tests. And the lady walks in and she tells me, "Carly, your HCG levels have dropped. That means you're naturally miscarrying." And when I tell you, emotions are weird. Emotions are very weird. But I'll never forget that feeling. The feeling of relief, but sadness at the same time. I walked into my appointment feeling so much anger, so much anxiety, so much I don't know what the hell is going on, to walking out feeling obviously sad and emotional, but also knowing God has my back and that my comeback story was just beginning. All in all, I will say that that was easily the most traumatic situation I've ever been in, and I wasn't really going to discuss this matter until I started to see just how bad it affected my mental health, my physical health, and honestly my career. From being someone who is always so confident with herself and always lit up the room to quickly moving into such a dark headspace, it was honestly scary and just new to me. And I think the scariest part was it got to a point where, you know, I felt that I struggled so much to pick myself up. I literally felt that I was in no way, shape, or form capable of, you know, taking care of these girls who look up to me with Project U on their own fitness and personal development journeys as well. I let half of my roster go due to the guilt that I had that I was not able to be the best for them. I stopped taking care of myself physically and mentally. I let the words that my ex used to say really, you know, affect me in a negative way. Hell, I owned a business dedicated to women's physical and mental, you know, personal development and resiliency. And all I could think about was the fact that I was not leading, and I just felt like a shame, right? I felt like such a shame, felt like such a joke. And you know, there was a lot of judgment that I placed on myself, and I literally felt like I was watching everything that I built within my career, my foundation, just crumble right in front of me. And I'll never forget this. One of my best friends to this day, he ended up telling me, "Carly, I know you're in a shitty situation right now, but there is no other person that I would want to go through the situation that you just did other than you. And at first I was like, what the fuck? But then I really sat with it and really understood what she meant. There is literally nobody else who could, be put in this situation or be handed these cards and not push through other than myself. And she was right. I originally created Project You after a hardship, after my car accident, to inspire other women to, utilize their fitness journeys, to build that resiliency needed to push past barriers and limitations, to receive those outcomes that they want. And now it was my turn to make me my best project. Despite anything and everything that was going on around me, I had to do it for myself. And drum roll, please, that's exactly what I started to do. I'm sure a lot of you guys do follow my socials and notice that last year I went and took myself through a reverse phase. I lost about 10 pounds post-breakup due to appetite and emotions and just kind of everything that was going on. I began suffering with ovarian cysts, which if you guys have had ovarian cysts, those things are fucking painful. I've never dealt with it, never had any issues until obviously the miscarriage and everything happening. I worked with a lot of doctors to kind of figure out what was going on, and those things were nuts. So there was just a lot of unknown that, I was dealing with, and I did not like that. But it was from that point where I knew I had to reverse, and I was not looking forward to it because I honestly expected to put on body fat just because I dropped 10 pounds like that. But it was exactly what I needed to kind of get my hormones back in check. A little side note here, I do coach many women who are in the need of reverses, and a lot of them do fight me on it. But this just goes to show how important it is that you have to focus on healing the internals first to obviously receive the external outcomes that we want. But anyways, with getting very uncomfortable with my reverse, I remember sitting there very uncomfortable, and I was like, you know what, fuck it. I am just gonna, fully commit to this thing and take myself into a surplus and focus on putting on muscle as well. We gotta find the positives somewhere, and that was me finding the positives. Y'all, I was in my full-on Project Me era. Everything that I was teaching my clients, I was turning it right back around and teaching myself again. Getting uncomfortable to grow. I ended up putting on 15 pounds through my growth period, but fast forward some time when I was ready, I ended up cutting back down. I lost about 12 pounds before my Europe trip, which is super exciting. And I've just been maintaining at a healthy level. Hormones are happy, confidence is good, and we're just feeling overall very solid, which is something that I was begging for at the, time of everything. And I realized something. Although the last year and a half was super uncomfortable for me, and I was in my healing era, I realized that the story you tell yourself does not have to be the story you create for yourself. Back then when I was going through that, the story I was telling myself was, oh my gosh, why did this happen to me? I'm super upset. I don't want to get out of bed. I'm not the leader. I'm not the coach that I once was. That was the story that I was telling myself, right? So obviously the story I was telling myself back then was the reality that I was living in. So the story you tell yourself after something like this happens does not have to be the story that you create for yourself. And I think it's important to remember that, you have the choice here, right? You have the choice to let your hardships define and kind of tear you down, or you have the choice to let your hardships create a story that you are so damn proud of. Your hard is just the beginning of success, my friends. And for whatever you've gone through or are going through, your project has to be surrounding you at all times to build the resiliency to push past those barriers and fight for that reality that you want. Again, I share this in hopes to inspire women who are going through something very similar or who have gone through something very similar, whether it's a breakup, a recent breakup, or maybe you're a new mom trying to figure it all out. Whatever your story is, it is unique to you, and you have the pen to create the outcome. You literally have the pen to create your hottest, baddest, most healed version of you ever, if you choose. I've been able to use what I went through and my story as almost a catalyst to grow in ways that I never knew were possible last year. And it's only brought me closer to my brand and the mission that I've built. I leave this to say, at Project You, I understand that a woman's journey to wellness is not only about the physicals. It's about cultivating a resilient mindset, setting boundaries for yourself, and creating a reality you're so damn proud of. I certainly like to challenge the status quo here, advocating that self-care is not selfish, but it's actually essential. And I've created a sisterhood that thrives on honesty, integrity, and the relentless pursuit of growth, where every rep in the gym, every lesson we face in life, and every act of self-love is a step towards becoming the woman you are meant to be. So here's to the women who dare to put themselves first, to my ladies taking space to recharge your batteries, or to my visionaries reshaping your reality. Here's to choosing growth over defeat, to embracing your unique journey, and to becoming the architects of your own life. At Project You, we are not just transforming bodies, we're transforming lives, and consider myself to be a walking testimonial to that. Again, I did share all of this, to inspire women who are going through something very similar. You are in control. You are in control of more than you think. Just don't let the story that you're telling yourself be the story that you create for yourself, because you deserve more than that.